Heidi ho, everyone. Welcome to another movie review. I'm Shaun. We're going to do a no frills one today. We're just going to be talking into a camera and talking about a movie. Today, we're going to be talking about the Many Saints of Newark, who made Tony Soprano, the Sopranos movie, the Sopranos prequel film. The film is directed by Alan Taylor. It is written by Lawrence Koner, and it says it's based on characters by David Chase, but I'm pretty sure he had a hand in the script. He is the showrunner of the show and also one of the main writers on Kolchak the Night Stalker, one of my all-time favorite shows. The logline plot synopsis is: witness the making of Tony Soprano, the story that reveals the humanity behind Tony's struggles and the influence his family, especially his uncle Dickie Moltisanti, had over him becoming the guy you knew in the show. Okay, so I want to preface this by saying I like The Sopranos. I am not a Sopranos superfan. I watched the series one time all the way through. It was after its initial run, so it was probably like 2009, 2010. I watched the whole show. I have very fond memories of the show. I like the show. I actually remember more of it than most shows that I've watched in like kind of a condensed period of time. Like, I watched it over like a month, a couple weeks. And I was surprised how much I actually remember, how much I retained. So I guess that's like a testament to the quality of the writing and the characters and how the pace of the series over the years. So I came to this. I was looking forward to it. I wasn't like dying. I wasn't like super excited, but I did definitely wanted to see it. So I ended up watching it on HBO Max the morning it came out, and I did not really like it very much. I didn't think it was very good. I thought it was pretty mediocre, if anything. If I were to be kind, I would say it's pretty mediocre. It's very much felt like a fan service movie. There's like kind of the parallel threads. There's like an A plot and a B plot, which is, Tony Soprano learning a little bit about his background and about why maybe he would become the Tony Soprano that you know on the show. And also Dickie Moltisanti and like kind of his family, his girlfriend, his life, his world, and kind of implying that he's one of the people, the main drivers of why Tony ends up with the mob, becoming who he becomes. It's a big influence on his life, even though the movie does very, very little to really build that in any meaningful way, I would say. Because it's more, when it deals with Tony Soprano specifically, it is way more interested in fan service and very on-the-nose fan service. Because like I said, I've only watched the series one time through, and the stuff is so on the nose, it's almost cringe-inducing. They have one of the characters that Tony ends up in the series, he ends up killing this person, Michael Imperioli's character, who does this weird voiceover that, like, comes in and out just for kind of no reason. It doesn't really add anything to the movie, and it actually kind of just makes it, like, annoying. I just thought it was, like, so unnecessary. But, like, Tony Soprano's holding this kid when he's a baby, and the baby's crying, and then some old, like, Italian grandmother's like, babies, they know things about stuff from the other side. They know things about you, Tony. They know things about you. Like, just the stupid shit. Just the dumbest fucking on-the-nose, blind fan service crap. I think Vera Farmiga, Corey Stoll, who played Junior Soprano, and what's her name? I'm actually forgetting her name. Livia Soprano. They do kind of caricatures. They're doing impressions. I would say a couple notches above like what you would see on SNL. A few standouts though. There are some good performances. I actually really liked Ray Liotta, who plays like Dickie's dad, and he's like Hollywood Dick. And then he also plays his own brother, who's in prison. And Dickie Moltisanti goes to see him occasionally because of like guilt, because whatever. I can't get into it. I don't want to spoil anything. John Barenthal, also good. John Barenthal is always good. He's like one of the most solid working actors out there right now. So I always enjoy a good John Barenthal performance. But yeah, it's like there's not a whole lot to say about the story itself. I thought it was pretty rote. It's pretty basic stuff. I don't know. I've heard people talk, like people that are defenders of the movie, because they're like the Soprano super fans. They love this fucking movie. They're out there, and if you let anyone know on Twitter or anything that you don't care for this thing or that you think it's whatever, they will let you know that you're wrong. It's really weird and aggressive in a way that I haven't seen outside of like Marvel sycophants. So it's like, man, even I guess the Sopranos super fans are just as bad. I guess anybody that's like a really like a diehard super fan of something potentially can just be a dick, just be a dick to people. Like there was one specific instance. There was a female critic, uh, Rotten Tomato thing. Her pull quote was like really hacky and cliche. It was like, it's like a big ziti with garlic bread covered in olive oil, topped off with gabagool. I just wish all those delicious ingredients were used for something worth your time, like something like that. And people just like went mercilessly, like went after her. Even so much, and then she, goes on Twitter and she's like, "Oh, these toxic fan bases, fucking out of control." And then I remember I was reading somebody's Twitter and they were like, "Nobody made you write this," like as if like this person's opinion should affect you or anything, or they deserve to be lampooned in that way for like this fucking nothing statement, just this little like hacky thing. But I'll say this is what I would say in response to people being like, "Oh, that's such hack cliche crap, you're just a bad writer." I think it's perfectly tempered to the movie that person watched. This movie is hack. This movie is very cliche. It is only for Sopranos superfans. I have heard some interesting theories about like maybe the meta textual sense of the story, because there's a point in the Sopranos series where it becomes self-aware of its own reputation amongst people that watch it. And when you have like shows like that really deal with, crime and crime families and bad people, even if you see kind of the building of their pathology as you do with Tony Soprano, you get a deeper insight into his worldview and why he is the way he is. But he's still a piece of shit. He's still a bad person. But you end up rooting for them. You start kind of enjoying the violence. You enjoy the chaos. You enjoy the bad shit that they do. That's what starts to happen. So David Chase and crew at some point kind of realized that and started kind of fucking with the fan base, kind of almost calling them out in a way, like being like, "Oh, you're just, your view of this show is very pedantic, and we're going to show you that there's something deeper here. We're going to make you question why you feel about the way you feel about Tony Soprano. We're going to make you question all that stuff." Same thing that actually they did it, and I think they actually did it pretty more succinctly, I'd say, was Vic Mackey from The Shield. It's a very similar trajectory where like the last few episodes, you really, as an audience member, you have to really reconcile with the character you've been rooting for in some way. And it's a really great moment, really great TV moment. Sopranos, it's way more nuanced and subtle. I would say it's actually probably the better written thing out of those two examples, but it does a similar thing. And people were saying that the movie is kind of doing that too. It's actually making fun of the mythology around the Sopranos in general. I don't know if I completely buy that. I don't know if I completely buy that this movie is self-aware in that way. I don't think the people involved in making it have the chops to do that. The guy who directed this, Alan Taylor, who basically has directed a bunch of Game of Thrones episodes. He had directed Thor: The Dark World and Terminator Genesis. That's where he's coming from as a creative, as a director. He's also done a lot of other HBO stuff. So he's a television director. He did a few episodes of The Sopranos, Big Love, Bored to Death, Boardwalk Empire. So maybe as a television director, he's okay. I can't speak to what episodes of The Sopranos he did or the Game of Thrones. Beyond the Wall, Valar Morghulis, The North Remembers. But, him, maybe he's just not good at, like, really forming a consistent tone or getting a whole story, a whole narrative within a 2-hour time period, right? He's just, when you're tasked with doing television, you're just telling a piece of something, you can kind of hyper-focus on it. A movie, you got to move. You got to build things. It's got to be a little more subtle, a little more nuanced, because this shit was so on the nose. Like, I laughed out loud a few times by how I thought it was how bad it was, how bad some of the moments are. Some of the things. I mean, like holy crap. I mean, like even at the end of the movie when it like the end credits is just this is the theme song from The Sopranos. Like cut to black. woke up this morning. Like it was, I started laughing. It was so, I just thought it was so bad. So bad. I mean, I guess maybe saying so bad is like a little bit overkill. I thought it was like very generic, kind of just very mediocre. I know people like it. I know that there's fans. I know Soprano fans have been enjoying it. And hey, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you like it because it's definitely made for you. It's made for super fans. It feels like it is. But it just never shakes that feeling. It feels like a season of television shoved into 2 hours. Everything feels underdeveloped. Every character, no characters really feel very memorable outside of the ones that you know from the show. Um, and Tony Soprano's son here, what's his name? Michael Gandolfini, who plays the young Tony Soprano. He's James Gandolfini's son. I feel bad for him. I think he should not have had this kind of put on him like that. Uh, I don't know, because I didn't think he was very good. I didn't think he gave a very good performance. I know Soprano super fans love it because he obviously has similar ticks to his father, and I don't think that's really a performance thing. I think that's just a natural presence thing because it's his son. It's James Gandolfini's son. So you'd be more like your dad than you ever realize. When I hit 30, I started doing shit my dad would do, like physically, like the way he would stand and shit. And I'd never done that before. So some of this stuff is just inescapable. So I think that's what fans are picking up on. Because, in some sense, it's very cool as like a tribute to his father. Adds a verisimilitude to the world of the movie you're watching, or the show, or the movie. Makes it all feel part of a piece, I suppose. But I don't know. I thought he was pretty bad. Gave kind of a bad performance. The guy who does Silvio Dante, John Magaro, also really bad. Probably the worst of like the impression performances, which is Vera Farmiga and Corey Stoll. They at least feel like they inhabit the characters more, and it's less. It's still a caricature. It still feels like an impression, but I felt like there was at least something behind their eyes. The Silvio Dante guy, John Magaro, he's like doing kabuki theater. Like he's projecting that shit out to the heavens. Like it's so fucking bad. It's so like Saturday Night Live. I have no other way to describe it, I suppose. And I'm sure people are going to shit all over this video. I'm sure they are. The Soprano superfans, they will find me. They will have me whacked. How do you like that? How do you like that for hack cliche shit? Because it has, like I said, the parallel stories with Dickie Moltisanti and Harold McBrayer, played by Leslie Odom. And it's like there's potential there. The worst part of the movie is the Tony Soprano stuff, is the connecting it as a Sopranos sequel in that kind of like on the nose direct way. If they had just made a movie, it's like it didn't know what it wanted to do. If it had just been a movie about Tony Soprano and kind of having to deal with the absence of his father, who's like in and out of fucking jail, he's kind of a rough dude. Like if that had been what was explored, and how that affected Tony and how it affected his life at school and his shortcomings like with his education, but he's good at football, and like things that they touch on in the movie and never develop in any meaningful way, because the movie wants to spend a lot of time with Dickie Moltisanti, which I don't understand. I guess maybe if I was more of a super fan, I would understand, but the story that they decide to tell is like one that is just so underdeveloped that it was hard to ever feel a real sense of attachment or really care about anything. And then also it's just, it sinks into a little bit of cliche territory. And I don't know, like I said, I don't really buy the meta argument about what the movie was trying to accomplish. I just don't. I don't think that the people that were involved making this are that new, like subtle. I don't think they're that subtle of creators based on the body of work, based on their body of work, based on the other things I've seen that they've done. So yeah, I don't know if I buy that shit. I'll be honest with you. And oh my god, I mean, there's even a moment where they have like because Michael Imperioli's character, spoiler alert for the show, Tony Soprano has him whacked, has him killed, and in this he's a baby, he's just born, and so teenage Tony is like holding the baby, and the baby's like crying and freaking out, and and like this old Italian woman is like, she's like says just something like, "Oh, they bring things from the other side. They bring things from the other side. They know things. They know things." It's supposed to be like this, on the very on the nose foreshadowing about what happens in the show. So yeah, it's a big thumbs down for me. But I had no real expectations. Like I said, I'm not a Sopranos super fan, but I think even the super fans that are defending it, I think you're wrong. Just think you're wrong. Like objectively wrong. I don't. It's not paced very well. It's all crammed together. Everything's undercooked. The performances. There's like a couple good ones that I liked. I liked Ray Liotta. I liked John Barenthal a lot. I thought Corey Stoll and Vera Farmiga did a pretty decent job with their kind of impression performance. But most everybody else is just they just don't have a presence. They're just kind of dead on arrival. And the guy, especially the guy who plays Dicky Moltisanti, Alessandro Nivola, who is I remember him from Face Off. He plays Pollux Troy, Castor Troy's brother, and he just kind of melts into the background because ostensibly he's like the lead of the movie. And I don't know. Maybe if I had more time with him. That's what, like, I don't know why. Like, what is the point of doing a Sopranos, like, feature film? If you wanted to come back to the Sopranos and do something, especially because you have, like, HBO Max now and stuff, why wouldn't you do, like, a miniseries? You know? Then you could really explore all this stuff and really explore the neighborhood, really explore some of the racial dynamics going on in New Jersey at the time. And kind of the rise of, I guess, black gangsters, black crime, syndicate stuff. I don't know if that's black mafia, and versus or just gentrification. There's all sorts of things you could go into, and the movie has no time to do that because it's trying to do too many things. I think that's probably ultimately its fatal flaw, is it just wants to do so many things and it does not give itself the time to do it. Should have just picked a lane, honestly. Honestly, I would have much rather have seen like a very kind of a nuanced character study about young Tony Soprano. And you could have still had all the fan service. You could have had all this kind of stuff. But make it like meaningful. I don't know. I'm just rambling now. I think I'm going to stop. All right. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.